There's no use hiding. I know every sound and smell in these lands. And you smell like... well, to be honest, BO and cheap cologne. Come out, please. There you are. What are you doing out here? Looking for someone? Well, that's certainly interesting. I am the only one who lives out here. Which means that if you're looking for someone, you're looking for me. Why? Magic. I'm sorry. Who on earth told you that there was magic out here? Oh, the lady in the town. God damn it, Gladys. Why are you seeking it out? Love spell. Right. Follow me. Come on. My cabin's this way. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting anyone to come out and ask me for a potion. I suppose it's only fair that you come inside and I give you a cup of tea and we discuss exactly what kind of love you're after. What do I mean? Come now. There are many types of love. Even you should know that. Come on. Watch the stairs. The damp air makes for quite a bit of dry rot. And, well, I have my skills with a hammer. I've still fallen through a couple times. There we are. The living room is just down the hall. Make yourself at home. Sit. The couch won't bite, unless you antagonize it. Oh, look in your face. You people are so cute. So, love spell. Would you like some tea? Oh, come on, we always have time for tea. It's only fair. I make it myself with herbs from my garden. Have a look. Lovely, aren't they? Purple petals and twisted leaves. I've been tending gardens since damn near the day I was born. Here we are. Lucky for you, I had a pot waiting for me. Do you prefer milk or honey with your tea? Fair enough. There we go. So, this victim of yours, tell me about them. Ooh, now there's a look. Such a reaction to a word. If I didn't know any better, I'd almost say you knew what you were asking for was wrong. Describe them to me. I'm curious what has you seeking a magical roofie. Yes, I will call it that. That does sound quite pretty. Do they have a nice voice? Forgive me. I have my own preferences, and a pleasant voice is always nice. Well, I suppose the most important part is the type of love. As I've mentioned, well, there are many types. There is familial love, although I wager that's not what you're after. It's a type of love that is a bond between family members. And that could be blood family or found family, if you're blood family is trash. There is love of a friend, or love between brothers, though I wager that is the love you're currently stuck with and are trying to get away from. There is romantic love, the kind of love that is shared between two people who come to know one another, who learn and grow together, who seek to better each other through thick and thin, and, should fate be kind, get to spend the rest of their lives together. And then there's pure love. And that is the most difficult love of all. It's the kind of love that only happens once every few thousand years. And when it does, it changes the fabric of everything as we know it. Oh, and then of course there's infatuation and lust. But those are more things that are mistaken for love and not quite love itself. So what will it be? Romantic love. Romantic love does sound good. I think I have a few items I could do to make that happen. Now, I should state that potions for romantic love don't quite fabricate the love. They more open up the possibility for it to happen. It is the less sinful of these options. Pure love. Oh, darling. That would be impossible. Well, I listed it as an example, not as a certainty. Darling, I have been experimenting with many things for much longer than you could possibly imagine, and I assure you, pure love is impossible to recreate. The ingredients alone, they're so natural in their being that they have to be created in real time. Specific emotions and secretions. And those are just the easy ones to get. No. Romantic love will be your best option. Oh, are we stuck on it now? Very well. May I ask you, are you familiar with the Bible? I would assume you are. You can find the damn things everywhere. Teenagers smoke pages of them, for Christ's sake. Are you aware of the original Bible? No, not the Old Testament. Don't be silly. The true original, crafted by the scribe himself. There are many tales in the true Bible that you would never, ever hear during your sermons. For instance, are you aware that your beloved Adam had 3 wives? Oh yes, yes he did. Even at the beginning of mankind, divorce existed. We simply can't escape. Who were they? Well, the first one, well, certainly the not most famous, is well known enough. Adam's first wife was Lilith. Yes, that Lilith. The first of the demons, the queen of hell. Lilith and Adam were created at the exact same time, fused together at the back facing in opposite directions. A singular being of 2 heads, 4 arms, and 4 legs. And then God chose to split them, fabricate the difference between them, and turn Adam and Lilith into their own beings. They walked as equals amongst the garden, their names chosen for themselves. They named the plants around them and the animals. They laughed and talked and embraced one another. They were perfect children. But alas, as they grew, Adam became troubled. You see, if Adam and Lilith were equal, that meant that Adam was not God's favorite, as the angels would sometimes whisper to him. And he spoke to God. Lilith became aware of his jealousies, and according to the story that we are told, left the garden of her own volition. But this isn't true. His second wife was an unnamed girl, small, simple little thing with no voice. You see, after Lilith was gone, Adam became deeply lonely. He sat and he wept at the loss of his beloved, and regretted. Oh, did he regret? So God reached down into the soil before Adam and crafted his second wife. But as you can imagine, this was not a beautiful process, for you see, God created her bones, and then her veins and the blood within, her flesh and sinew and muscle, and the skin and hair that contained all within. Adam looked upon this miracle horrified. And so, as she stood and outstretched her arms towards him, he ran and hid within the deep shadows of the garden. And the unnamed wife wept, rejected by the only love that she had ever known. And so, she stood and turned and walked to the entrance of the garden and took her leave, never to be seen again. God had learned his lesson after this point. He could not create Adam a wife that was equal. Oh no, this would tarnish the boy's ego, and we couldn't risk that. And he couldn't create her before him and show him the inner machinations of her body, for Adam would flee in terror. And so, to protect Adam, God put him to sleep and dug into his side and pulled a single rib from his body. With that rib and a handful of mud and clay, he crafted Eve to lay next to him. You see, the rib was chosen so that way Eve would always be under Adam's arm. Of him, but never equal to him. For she was only a piece, and he was a whole that sought a piece. But Eve was an affront to the garden. Oh? No, dear, not because of the apple. No. Eve was an affront because of the resemblance she bore to Lilith. You see, Lilith was so beautiful, so perfect in her form, as the first female would be, that one of God's true children fell in love with her. Do you know who it was? It was Lucifer. Lucifer was rebellious. He was of God's light, but he didn't understand the favor that he paid to these two hunks of mud. And so he traveled down to the garden and laid eyes upon Lilith for the first time. He saw as she mingled amongst the flowers and spoke with the animals, He laughed as she stood in the face of Adam and told him no many a time. And when he was brave enough, he snuck into the garden and spoke to her. They learned from one another, became whole together, for they were two perfect beings. When Adam spoke to God about his fear of Lilith surpassing him, God sought her out to speak, but caught her in Lucifer's arms. For you see, Lilith was the first to partake of the forbidden fruit. And it was not an apple. No. It was Lucifer. They had whispered behind Adam's back in direct defiance of God. And so, God broke her and cast her from the garden. And Lucifer fled. When he found the remains of her body, he swore vengeance on God's perfect children. He took Lilith and went deep below the earth to unknown chasms of darkness and lay her there upon a pedestal and flew back to the garden. He snuck in the form of a snake, and there before his eyes was another Lilith. A cheap fabrication, but just real enough to stall him mid-stride. Lucifer wept at the sight of her, an unbroken beauty, Adam's perfect wife. He stowed his emotions and let the hatred seethe within him. He glided to her side and whispered words into her ear. He begged her to taste of his fruit, for if she did, she would learn wondrous things, beautiful things, and God would love her for it, just as much as he loved Adam. And she submitted, as a good wife does. Lucifer left the garden as Eve went back to Adam and shared of her knowledge and tore the garden asunder. When Lucifer was cast down, he landed by Lilith's side. He reforged her, like God had forged Eve in her likeness, and she became the very first demon. And even now he holds her, whispering love into her ear, and in her name he whispers treachery and pain and temptation into ours. That is pure love. It is cruel, and it is beautiful, and it changes the fabric of the world that you know. I cannot grant you that love. Drink your tea. I will go into my garden in the evening and find the flowers needed. I will brew you a potion of romance, and perhaps the outcome won't be so vile. But I warn you, do not perform this action lightly, for the suffering and heartache and pain that comes from trying to force two people together for an eternity can never truly be gotten over. Drink. Rest. I'll have your potion for you in the morning.